Hey everyone, hope everyone is doing well today. So, Alberta and Saskatchewan have officially brought US liquor back onto store shelves. Yeah, it's frustrating, and I know a lot of you feel the same way. But the reality is, those provincial governments have already made their decision. We may not be able to stop it, but we can still talk about what it means and what comes next. I'll play the clip and share my thoughts throughout. Today's background is from Peggy's Cove in Nova Scotia. I haven't been there myself, but it looks like an incredible place to visit. If you've been, let us know in the comments. And if you find this video helpful, a quick like and subscribe really helps push it out to more Canadians and allies who care about where their money goes. Let's get into it.
Well, Alberta is resuming liquor imports from the United States. Here's Tyler Barrow with what it means for sellers and distillers.
The holdoff is over for U.S. liquor imports to the province. In March, Alberta Gaming, Liquor and Cannabis stopped the sale of all American alcoholic products due to the ongoing trade war. Here at the Kensington Wine Market, the move, not a game changer.
To be honest, it's not surprising. They are bringing it back, but they're bringing it back with a tariff on it.
The store currently has a large selection of wine along with a column of whiskeys imported from the U.S. These were bought before the ban came into effect. Products shipped after March 4th will have a 25% tariff, and whether the seller, store, or buyer pays it is up in the air. But what isn't is customers' choice over the last few months.
At least from what we've seen, the majority of consumers are avoiding American products if they can.
And for distillers like Mark Freeland, he doesn't think his business will feel the impact of U.S. liquor too much.
Let the chips fall where they may and let the guys that are making good stuff get it out there.
He distills gin, vodka, and whiskey. Since the ban came into effect, it helped drum up some interest for his products to get on more liquor store and restaurant shelves, but nothing substantial. In a statement, Service Alberta Minister Dale Nally says the province is trying to signal renewed commitment to open and fair trade with our largest partner, saying,
Open and fair trade with our biggest partner? Let's be real. When has any deal from the Trump administration not been about giving the US the upper hand? Trump doesn't do balanced agreements. It's always about control, leverage, or headlines. But that's the line Alberta's government is feeding the media, and none of it surprises me, especially after seeing those photos of Danielle Smith cozying up with the orange guy himself. I'm sure most of you have seen them by now. I'd love to hear from viewers in Alberta. What's your take on your province putting US liquor back on the shelves? Drop a comment and let us know what you think. Let's keep going.
the decision sets the stage for more constructive negotiations ahead of a Canada-United States-Mexico agreement renewal, potentially leading to increased trade opportunities and economic growth for Alberta. And Prime Minister Mark Carney has made a clear effort to reset the relationship with the U.S. administration, and Alberta's government supports this approach. The province says it's still encouraging Albertans to support local producers, something echoed here at Two Rivers Distillery.
You're supporting your neighbors, you know. We live down the street from you, whereas, you know, Joe's Bourbon from Kentucky, he doesn't live anywhere near you.
He's right. Joe Blow's Bourbon from Kentucky doesn't care who you are or where you're from, just that you're buying the bottle. Now that U.S. alcohol is back on the shelves, it really comes down to one thing. Will Canadians choose to support it? Let's hear from an Alberta liquor company and get their take on this recent change.
News. Andrew Ferguson is the owner of Kensington Wine Market in Calgary. He joins me now. Good to speak with you. Were you surprised that there was this, that there's been this change in tone or decision making within your province?
Not entirely. I mean, it might surprise people in other parts of the country to know that in Alberta, we've never been prohibited from selling U.S. products over the course of the last few months. The importers have been prevented from bringing products in. And I think some of those have started to deplete. And I think this is a reaction to that and to some businesses that are worried about, you know, their inventory levels moving forward. And I also don't think it's going to have a massive impact, is the other reality.
And when you say this, what you mean is whatever stock you had, and we saw in other provinces, like Manitoba and British Columbia, we had workers going in and taking them or moving them from the shelves and I guess putting them back in a storage unit, and they weren't allowed. They were taken off the shelves, not an option to purchase them. But in Alberta, where you were allowed to sell through that stock. That's what you're explaining, yes?
Yeah, and it's, I mean, all the retail out here is privately owned, so it's difficult to tell a business you can't sell an asset you've already paid for. And I think that's a little different math when you're a government-owned liquor distribution chain.
Since these liquor stores are privately owned, they're not tied to Alberta government policy. They get to decide what goes on their shelves, and that's where it gets interesting. I'm curious to see which shop owners choose to stand with their country and which ones choose profit instead.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I when you say surprised, I was a little surprised that provinces would go their own on this, although I suppose that they sort of did in the beginning of it. But there was this messaging, sort of all on the same page of this, all on the same team. And now we have two provinces saying, for the good of trade negotiations, we're going to do this a little differently. Is it going to make a difference to your business?
I don't think so. And I think the main reason is that people have been avoiding American-made products like the plague. Our sales of U.S. wines are down about 80%. Our sales of bourbon, American whiskey, is down about 75%. And allowing us to purchase these products again at effectively a premium, as long as that is passed on to retailers and consumers, I don't know why people would pay more for something they're not, by and large, buying the way they used to right now.
That's a great point. Even if U.S. liquor is back on the shelves, the real question is, are you willing to pay more for it because of the tariffs? In the end, I still think the power sits with Canadian consumers. We get to decide what gets bought on those shelves.
Right. So you have the option now of bringing more in, but it's subject to, a 25% tariff or, an import fee now as the result of the threats being made by the U.S., right? So that price to the consumer is, give me roughly what are people having to pay if they want to buy that U.S. booze?
But I think one of the interesting things here is, depending on the size of the business and the scale of the brand you're talking about, like small and medium-sized companies are likely to just not import anything until this gets resolved. If you're a really large brand, you might be able to eat the cost of that tariff in order to maintain your position in the market. So, I think different companies are going to respond to it in different ways. But the bottom line is, in talking to other store owners, most of them are seeing the same thing. Demand for American products is way down. They're not looking to substantially increase that. And most of us have actually decreased the volume of things we carry because that's the direction we're getting from our consumers.
So now that there's an opening, what do you think you're going to do in terms of importing U.S. alcohol?
I mean, we might selectively continue to carry specific things, but I don't think it changes anything from, Thursday last week, the day before this announcement was made. Our customers aren't coming in by and large. They're coming in and asking for wines that are not American. A lot of them are shifting to Canadian products. So we have taken a big chunk of our American wine section and given it over to Canadian wines. We've increased dramatically, especially from smaller Canadian producers, our selection of Canadian whiskeys, and consumers are responding to that. And I think for the time being, until this trade matter is resolved, I don't see us going back to stocking the volume of American products we have. And I think the more interesting thing is how long this drags on. Will some of these consumer trends change permanently? Will people could go back to buying American wines, or are they going to, is that anger, that residual anger, going to still be there that people avoid them for a while in the future?
Like I said earlier, the power still lies with the consumer. It's up to Canadians to decide if the frustration and anger we're feeling is enough to boycott U.S. products altogether, including the alcohol that's back on the shelves. Some people might still buy it simply because they don't care, but they'll be paying more for it thanks to the tariffs. We can't stop every purchase, but if enough of us choose to walk away, those bottles will start collecting dust. And that sends a message, not just to the U.S., but to the shop owners too. They might eventually replace it with Canadian-made options on their own. But my gut tells me the shop owner is right. There's too much anger out there. That's just my take. But we'll see where the numbers go in the next few months. What I do know? They're not getting a dime from me. If you got value from this video, a quick like and subscribe goes a long way in helping the channel grow. And let us know in the comments, especially if you're in Alberta or Saskatchewan. Will you be buying U.S. liquor again? Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.